Well, how's it going, my friends? Here's the deal. I know Christmas has come and gone. It's been a little while, maybe time to move on. But Christmas is my favorite time of year for a lot of reasons. Definitely the greatest, which is because of exactly what it is that we're celebrating. But I'm not ready to move on, I guess. The reality is this year what I wanted to do is I wanted to share with you some of the cool stuff that I was given by people that are close to me, people that know me and love me for Christmas, that is all preparedness related, in large part because basically that's everything that I put on my list. My hope with this is to maybe give you some ideas of some things that might be kind of cool to get and to maybe put on your list for future gift ideas, whether for birthdays or Christmas or whatever. I don't know, whenever it is that you guys give and receive gifts in your family situations. Also just because I just wanted to share something fun that worked out for me this Christmas. And again, maybe inspire you or give you some ideas of some things that you might want to add to your kit. So I'm going to go through a handful of things that I was given, and also thank the people that did that for me. The first thing that I got here, this is a hand chainsaw. I saw this and I put it on my Christmas my wish list because I thought it was about the coolest thing I had seen. Basically, it is a chainsaw chain, right? It's got the blades like a real chainsaw, but then on the ends it has these little holes, and then I've got two handles, and I could just like put paracord in there and extend the length of these, and I could just like toss this up over a branch or something, and these things make quick work of a limb that you need to take down compared to other alternatives. I remember when I was a kid, they had these like little hand camp saws where it was basically like a piece of rough wire with two little loops on it, one for each finger. Give me half an hour and I can cut through a stick or something. This is the real deal. I'm excited to try this out, actually get to test it. There's oftentimes reasons. In fact, I've got a tree over at my parents' place that needs to come down, and I might have to take down a couple limbs first. It'd be faster to use the pole saw, but I don't know, I kind of want to give this a try, so it'll give me a good excuse to do that. So that's the first thing, was just this hand chainsaw. By the way, everything on my table here was pretty inexpensive. There were good deals on these things, but also they're just not big expensive things. And there's so much in preparedness that is that way. We don't have to go spend a fortune to have the gadgets, but also a lot of the resources that we need. Even some things that are expensive, there's oftentimes less expensive alternatives if we just learn a little bit more or keep our eyes out. The next thing here, this was from my wife. This is a set that it was at Costco. This is the Leatherman, it's a Skeletool. The Skeletool by itself, if I look on Amazon right now, says it's 75 bucks. This one was a set at Costco. I want to say it was less than that, and it came with the Skeletool, but it also came with just a regular folding pocket knife. First of all, it's sharp, it's from Leatherman. It's got a locking blade, and it's got the serrations on it for part of the blade, which I actually really like. But also, it's really light. I mean, they put all these holes in it, right? Which the way that they design it, it doesn't impact the durability very much, but it does take a fair amount of weight out. So it's actually really light. Kind of a fairly small, no frills little pocket knife, which that's kind of the style that I like. But the Skeletool's kind of cool as well. It's got in it the pliers, which is like my favorite thing about a multi-tool. It's probably the tool I use the most or the second most in a multi-tool. Maybe the one that I use the most is the screwdriver. And this actually is interesting. It comes with like a little screwdriver bit. So I have two flathead bits, one that's a little bit narrower, so you can see that. There you go. And I've got also storage here for a two-sided Phillips bit. Again, one being a little bit bigger Phillips head than the other. See that? Okay, and it just slides in and out, but it's, man, it holds itself in there really well. It's not just gonna fall out, which is kind of cool. I haven't had any issue with it, by the way, like sliding around or falling out or anything like that. It's held really well, and I've been using this a fair amount since I got it. It doesn't have a lot of tools. I have that other Leatherman Juice S2 that they don't make anymore that I really like. It has a few more tools on it than this one does, but this also has, it's got this little carabiner thing, which if you know of a really good use for why they need this, please let me know. One thing is that the carabiner is a bottle opener in and of itself, but in addition to that, I don't know a lot of reason why I would have that. It also, of course, has built into it a pocket knife, and it's actually the same blade, the same exact blade that's on the other pocket knife that came in this set. This other pocket knife, it has the belt clip, and on the belt clip is this little hook that's also a bottle opener. So they're basically expecting us to be opening a lot of bottles. It is handy though. You can use it, by the way, to open up jars, like jars of peaches and jam and stuff, which we do open quite often. I tend to use my fingers for that, but you know, why hurt yourself when there's a tool? I should have pointed out, by the way, you can just yank this out, but it's actually got this little lever action thing. That's what you're supposed to use. That's what holds it in. It's a little spring load. Yeah, I think that's basically it. So not as many functions as some other multi-tools, but it's been really handy. And like I say, the pliers and the screwdriver are the things that I've always used the most, in addition to the knife. So glad that I have it, but this is just, the size of it is really nice for just kind of an everyday carry for most things I would use a knife for. When I'm going out into the woods or something like that, I carry different tools. All right, next, I got a solar and wind-up weather radio. I had a weather radio before. It's just quite a bit bigger, and it was wind up as well. And this one also has a pretty decent flashlight. There we go. It's got this center beam, but it's also got these two other LEDs, or I can have all three on. It's also got like an internal light, so I can just make it more lit up. It also has an SOS flashing feature for the light. Just kidding. It also has an SOS alarm, apparently. I thought it was for the light. So it's got the weather band and then AM and FM radio. It has a little compass built into it, fairly handy. If I can see the sun, I'm usually pretty good. It also cranks and everything, but also the other cool thing is I can charge it with USB, not just solar, but I can also use it as a power bank. I do find it handy when a tool can do more than one thing. And if this can be a power bank, and if it can be enough to get me by on like a camping trip or something, that's pretty handy. But I do have one, I think I've showed it on this channel before, that is a much larger in terms of capacity power bank with like 4 decent sized solar panels, so it actually charges pretty fast. That's my preferred go-to for that, but nice to have a little bit of an extra. Speaking of things with an extra power bank, this is cool. This is a lantern. It's solar powered, so you can recharge it all day long, but then you can actually fold it out, blow it up, and now I can hang this thing up in my tent, and it's a lantern. Let me show it to you. It doesn't put out like loads of light, but it diffuses that light and helps spread it, so you can actually decently light up a tent or a small room and just give yourself a little bit of light. The reason I put one of these on my list is because I went camping with my brother, and he had one of these, and it was awesome. It charged itself up plenty during the day, and then in the evening, it'd be totally ready for us. The other cool thing is, like the weather radio, you can charge it up ahead of time in case, you know, it isn't fully charged. You can charge it up with USB, but it's also a little power bank. It's 2,000 milliamp hours, 7.4 watt hours. Not like loads of power. I think my other little power bank is like 10,000 milliamp hours. Basically, you could have this running all night long. Oh, and it does have a few different power levels. Okay, it just flashes. I was curious to see if that was like an SOS or not. All right, we'll set that aside. This one, I put it on my Christmas list. I was going through my list with my wife, kind of telling her what the different things were, so she would have an idea of maybe what to have guide the kids to get. And fire blankets came up, and she saw those, and she was like, we should just have those. So I bought this 2-pack off of Amazon, Tonkyo brand. I'm not sure the brand really mattered that much, as long as they work. So now we can keep one upstairs and one on the ground level of our home and have them available. My son, who's 12, I let him know, here's what these are, here's where they are, here's how to use them. If something catches on fire, like that can happen when kids are left at home. I know from personal experience. And no, I didn't start the fire, but the person who did, you'll probably meet here pretty soon. He was little. We'll give him a little bit of a break. Having a fire blanket can be a great way to put him out. We were just running through the house with literally pitchers of water, like splashing him on like a little old fire brigade. Man, that was a good story. Comes up probably at least once a year. Speaking of fire, the next thing on my list is actually, it was a 2-pack of these. These are cool. They fill with butane. They have a little window on the bottom so I can see how full they are. And they're little torches. And you can see they are adjustable, right? So I can adjust the heat on this thing. flip that up, and then I can turn it to make it higher. There we go. That's about as big as they go. Anyway, they're pretty decent little torches. Definitely a lot more than just a little lighter. Windproof. I haven't submerged them in water, but they're relatively, rainproof or whatever. And I'm gonna be able to start a fire. And with that kind of level of concentrated heat, it's gonna make it a lot easier for me to start tinder that's maybe a little bit damp, because I'm gonna be able to keep that heat on it for a couple of minutes. And it's a very concentrated and hotter heat than I'm gonna get with like a normal lighter, or obviously with a ferro rod or matches or anything like that. It's gonna make fire starting pretty easy. I'm one that I like to start campfires with a ferro rod because I like to make sure that that skill is always readily available to me. But sometimes you need to light birthday candles that are completely coated in wax. They've gotten super cheap on us. I don't know if you've noticed this over the last few years, but like every birthday candle we buy, the little wick is also like super coated in wax. So we usually end up sticking them in the cake, and then I hold a lighter up to them and it takes 15 minutes to light all these candles. Not anymore. So this is a headlamp, but it's this style of headlamp. I don't even know what you call this style, but basically it gives me kind of a continuous light. I don't know how many degrees that is, but decent peripheral vision, all lit up with this kind of diffused light rather than a very concentrated beam. My brothers didn't have this huge battery pack on the back. This battery pack's huge, which I don't mind that much. I'd rather have more life in my headlamp than, if you've seen the other headlamp I typically use, it is similar, right? I have one that's got a very concentrated beam on the front that has a similarly large battery pack in the back. This light has a couple different levels, and of course it has the SOS flash, so I could just like sit there while I signal for help, or something. So that was my Christmas haul of preps. I did have a couple probably other Christmas gifts that were not so preparedness related. They're just kind of fun things, but to me, preparedness is fun, and the outdoors is fun. And the cool thing is, for people who love the outdoors, is we get to buy cool stuff for the outdoors that also makes us more prepared. So if you are a preparedness-minded person and you're not into the outdoors yet, I want to encourage you to see if you can find something that you can love about being in the outdoors, because it's just going to make spending money on preparedness gear and preparedness knowledge, it's going to make it so much more worth it, because you're not just using those things or preparing those things for the case of an emergency that may or may not ever happen. You're using those things in your daily life, those skills, that gear, that stuff. And I don't know, makes it a lot easier for me to spend money on things I'm confident that I'm actually going to use versus spending money on stuff that I hope I never have to use. Anyway, I know it's long past, but Merry Christmas, and thanks everybody for joining me and hanging out with me for a few minutes while I shared some of my Christmas haul of preps. And by haul, like you haul a trailer or something. It's my haul of preparedness stuff, the haul of preps. Anyway, that's enough for today. We'll see you all in the next video.